Hello, and welcome to my review of Doctor Strange. So, for my first point, I want to talk about just like the philosophy and like the general message and the worldviews behind this film. We have a guy named, I forgot what his first name was, but he's Doctor Strange, and he's this really renowned surgeon. He gets into a car accident, and his hands just get completely crushed. And because of that, like what he used to pride himself with, which was his hands and his steadiness and his ability to basically control life, that was basically taken away from him. So in absolute humility, he has to go to the Ancient One in some foreign country. And what I found really interesting about that was just a worldview that was presented through the whole interactions. Because I mean, so far, it's pretty clear that Doctor Strange is some sort of naturalist, because he's just a man of science. He knows all about the body. He knows like every single muscle and every single bone that's in you. And he's like, if it can't be proven by science, then it's not true. She starts showing him a set of these pictures. One is, I believe, like a karma graph of like the human body. Like there's like some kind of vessel here and like something like that. And then she shows a CAT scan to him. At this point, he's just really disenfranchised with the whole thing. He's like, I can't believe I came to you for all this. You're obviously just some sort of whack job. But she shows him, and she explains in the film that like the karma thing and the CAT scan and several other graphs, they're all just windows and just parts of the human experience, but it's not the full picture. And once you get the full picture, you'll understand what life is really about. He still doesn't buy it, so she kind of puts him through this crazy sort of experience where he's like taken out of his body and shown like the different aspects of the universe and like a whole bunch of alternate universes. That severely challenges his worldview of naturalism, because he thinks that everything I know according to science has to be true, and everything that's outside of science is just obvious falsity. And yet he's taken out, and through anecdotal experience, he learns about the spiritual, he learns about multiverses, he learns about things that we would consider not hard science, but he knows it to be true, and that's the interesting part. So his worldview starts to kind of shift from naturalism to this sort of link between existentialism and New Age spirituality. Because now, if you harness sort of power of the universe, and if you use your understanding of the way the world works through New Age spirituality, then you could just be anything who you want to be. And that's sort of the crux of, well, not the crux, but that's sort of the pitch of existentialism. The villain was interesting too, because he was sort of like a pantheist. Well, he was sort of a wanting pantheist in a sense, because pantheism wasn't reality, but that's what he wanted, because there's like some sort of force out there where if he allows that force to enter into our reality, then it's going to take over everything and become a part of that force. And in that way, everything becomes God. So he's a pantheist that wants to make pantheism true, and he has a way of doing it. So that was interesting. Psychological connection, I kind of talked about in the beginning, but like the trippy imagery is pretty crazy. It really takes you through an exhaustive kind of like, oh my god, this world is, what is going on? And that's what the director wanted, because as soon as you go through that, and he's screaming and yelling the whole way, and then finally when you get back to reality, you're just exhausted. That sense of breathlessness and awe and wonder and this mystery that the world is so unknown, like they really captured that really well. Also this idea of like the mind, what you have in your mind, the envisioning, that can translate into real life. Like for example, he has an ability where if you just kind of do this with a ring, and think of a place you want to go to, then you can go there. So, that psychological connection between what we perceive as reality and what we perceive in our heads, and that just being able to bridge that gap is really fun. Lastly, this film was actually kind of a challenge of contemporary society, because we're very into naturalism. What can be proven is what is prime reality, and only if it can be proven can we call it true. Really challenge the ideology of naturalism and challenge the idea that only what happens in a laboratory can be what we perceive as true. They do it in a way that is also kind of naturalistic, because naturalism gives way to certain ideas like multiverse theory and stuff like that. So they do have respect for the sciences. It's not just a complete, like, oh, give up science itself. It's just like, that's just one part of it. And it also accounts for, I believe that every human has some sort of experience or some sort of intuition of the spiritual, and that it really bridges the gap between that, because it shows that the world is spiritual and it is scientific. So it kind of it reflects the will of the people, and it reflects the underlying ideology of naturalism in society. It doesn't affirm any sort of conventional God. It doesn't affirm any sort of one way is the truth. It just kind of says, hey, there's a spiritual realm. It's not a means to salvation. It's not anything like that. So, yeah, that's Doctor Strange. It's very, I would give it around like an 8 out of 10, because I really like the film. That's it. Thanks for watching.